I know we have a group who have a time limit of 3:15 or 2:15, well, I can't remember, but this is the time for you to address us on those issues. I'm not sure, are there people outside trying to get in who want to be a part of this? None? Okay, great. I'm excited then. Okay. We're going to begin with our public comments. Yes.
My name is Andrea Gorman. I'm retiree from the International Association of Machinist Aerospace Workers. I'm also a member of ACARA, California Alliance for Retired Americans, and I'm a member for QUIRL, Community Resources for Independent Living. When my children were raised back east, I used to tell them they should be out in California where the schools were number one. Now my grandson, who is in school in California, I tell him I feel sorry for him because the schools are rated 49. And I mean, this to me is a big problem for our future, and I hope we do something about it. But I've heard so many other people that have even worse conditions. One lady talked about her 2-year-old niece who had passed away from malnutrition. And I think we're the richest state. We produce the most food, and yet we allowed a child to die of malnutrition. And I hear about how many others have been deprived of food, that in Oakland, the seniors are lined up for programs and can't even get into them because there's so many that need food. Homeless people that can't get food, die out in the cold. So we have a lot of problems, but we shouldn't have any of them because we're a great state. We have great resources. And we have some really great officials that we have elected. And they need help, and I heard you speak, and you're absolutely wonderful, and I'm glad you're on our side. And I hope you get more to support you as well, so you can support us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Angie Schwartz. I'm the Policy Director with the Alliance for Children's Rights, and I really appreciate the subcommittee's willingness to hold a hearing on child poverty and the legislature's commitment to reducing poverty in California. One group of young people that we don't often think of as being raised in poverty are our state's foster children. And yet thousands of our state's foster children are being removed from their homes by the state and placed into deep poverty every year as a result of California's decision to deny state foster care benefits to those children placed in the homes of relatives. California is the only state in the country that denies state foster care benefits to children placed with relatives. Instead, these children who would receive state foster care benefits if they went to a non-relative, when they're in the home of a relative, are told to apply for CalWORKs. Our foster youth are our state's children. When we remove them from their homes, we make a commitment to provide the support and the care and the benefits that they need to thrive. And yet, for children placed with relatives, far from providing adequate support, we're providing a level of support equal to just 37% of the poverty line. That's deep poverty, and we're hoping California can join the rest of the country and change that practice this year.
Thank you.
Susanna Niffen with Children Now, and to follow up a little more on what Angie was just saying, we place almost 40% of our children in foster care with relatives because we know that it provides more stability for them, that they have better outcomes, that they are closer to their families and have less trauma as a result of removal. However, because we're the only state that doesn't pay foster care rates and instead asks them to go to the CalWORK system, they receive only $351 per month for a child they're taking care of, rather than the $820 a month that they would receive through the foster care system. It's a pretty big difference, and it gets worse if you have more children. So a relative caregiver of foster children who has 3 siblings would get $714 from CalWORKs and only $24, as opposed to $2460 from the foster care system. So you can see that it's a pretty big disparity. The foster care rate is set by a calculation of the minimum cost requirements to feed, house, and clothe a child, and this is based on court direction. So supporting our state's foster youth with anything less is really unacceptable. Rates for relatives and foster parents were nearly equal when this system was first set up. It's been an unintentional disparity that has grown over time as we've reduced CalWORKs rates and we've brought our foster care rates up to where they need to be. So it really is time to fix this.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Kathy Van Osten, representing the John Burton Foundation, and I'm here to echo some of these comments. I won't repeat them, but certainly we know that you appreciate the fact that when children are removed, they're removed because they are in sometimes very terrible situations. They are endangered, they are abused. So these children are removed from their home in trauma. It is always the desire to place with a relative caregiver. I also sit on the board of a local agency that finds permanent homes for children in foster care. And our top goal is always to find a grandparent, an uncle, a brother, sister, what have you. And it's often a challenge to find these. And then to top that off, who do these people look like? Many times, you're looking at grandparents who have already raised their children. The children have moved on. They're on fixed incomes. Most of them are not likely folks with generous retirement benefits. They're probably on Social Security. They don't have that flexibility. The USDA, their Center on Child Nutrition, the Child Nutrition, I should have memorized this, Policy and Promotion, they estimate the cost of raising a child between $12,500 and almost $15,000 a year to adequately feed, clothe, make sure that there's no malnourishment. So even if our relative caregivers were given the full foster care benefit, that's still below that level. So it's significantly less. So you're placing a family into poverty or into deeper poverty, and certainly placing that child in a much more detrimental economic situation than sometimes they've even come out of. So we would certainly urge you to take a look at the face of the caregivers, and certainly keep the children in mind, because ultimately they're the folks that we're trying to protect when we remove them from their home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Donita. I'm a single mom of 4 kids. I am also aunt, relative caregiver, and mom to Isabella. Isabella was placed with me when she was 6 days old. She is a daughter of my sister. She was given to me with about 4 hours of notice. We had to provide everything she needed, from crib, car seat, formula, diapers. They didn't explain very much to us about how they would help with funding, but we were told that it was likely she would not be funded, and if that was an issue, then they could look at placing her somewhere else. I didn't want to see that happen. It was really important to me that Isabella stayed with family, so we did go ahead and take her. I initially tried to apply for CalWorks for her, but was denied. They said she had to go through the foster care funding assessment first. At 3 months, she was denied. In order to care for Isabella, I had to take FMLA from work. I work a minimum wage job as a waitress, again, raising now 5 kids. My FMLA benefits paid me $328 a week for 6 of the 12 weeks that I stayed home to care for Isabella. We received no other funding. Eventually, her CalWorks did come through. Because of my own situation, she's qualified for $316 a month. She was born addicted to drugs with no prenatal care. She has a lot of medical issues. I'm often required to take time off of work to care for her or find alternative care, which is time that's not reimbursed to me at all. And just the one thing that I would like to say is, if I was a foster parent, I would be paid one standard, but because I'm a relative, I'm paid another. The level of care that I provide to her is probably greater than that of a foster parent. I'm up with her every night. I love her. I care for her. My family sacrifices greatly for her. And my question to you is, what makes a foster parent's time, love, and effort worth more than the time, love, and effort that I put into Isabella? Thank you.
My name is Peggy Vieira, and I'm a grandmother who is taking care of a 6-year-old grandson. And I have been trying to get Medi-Cal for him for 6 months and still have been denied. And he was placed through CPS with me. I live in a senior apartment complex, 1 bedroom, and I have the 6-year-old. I can't afford to move yet. So we need to do something. I agree with her on loving. Who could love a relative better than another relative?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean Hughes, I'm here with the Alliance for Children's Rights. So to kind of summarize what we've all been talking about here, under the current financing structure, the state makes it exceedingly difficult for relatives to financially support their kin in foster care. What we're hoping is that a simple change of law can align California with the other 49 states around the country in providing equity and supporting families that have stepped up. State and federal law both prioritize placement with relatives for very good reasons. There's greater placement stability, there's better preservation of family connections, and improved emotional health for foster youth as well. So we want California to align its financing structure with these best practices. The improving financial health of the state, we think, gives the legislature a unique opportunity to do something about this, and so we're hoping that you can better support relative caregivers and at the same time lift thousands of Californian children out of poverty. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jim Lindberg. I'm with the Friends Committee on Legislation of California. We're a statewide Quaker-based advocacy group, and I want to thank you for holding this hearing. We just think we all agree that it's just morally unacceptable to have such high levels of poverty in a state as wealthy as California. In addition to prioritizing paying down debt and building a reserve and also putting money into education in communities where there are many disadvantaged students, which we think is a really good thing. Unfortunately, the other item that the governor's budget prioritizes is corrections, and we're seeing a request for a $1 billion increase in the corrections budget. We think that's absolutely the wrong direction for our state to take. It's not just a matter of revenue, it's also a matter of how we spend the revenues, and we would really urge the legislature to scrutinize the corrections proposals very carefully. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Esling. I'm with the Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations. And all children are children. Foster care children, CalWORKs children, they're all children. And they all need help. And CalWORKs children living on a fixed income of what they got in 1987, that's shameful. And foster care, and they should get the same rates that foster care children get. What's the difference? A child is a child. And if you're wondering where the money is, all you have to do is look at the TANF program, CalWORKs. $1.6 billion is taken away from our money and given to the general fund as a contribution to balance the budget. There's a whole bunch of money to be able to provide for the children of California and take them out of poverty, and the sooner the better. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josefina Villarreal, and I am from the Central Valley, and I just wanted to let all you guys know I am a CalWORKs participant. I was born in a very poor neighborhood around gangs and drugs, and that's kind of the lifestyle that I lived for a few years. As a teenager, I was an addict, and I became a mother very young age. I now have 6 children, and I was given the opportunity to be a participant in the CalWORKs program, which gave me a future. I've been clean for 6 years. During the time I was on the CalWORKs program, I saw a future for myself and for my children getting out of poverty. The program was guaranteeing me to purchase my books, help me with transportation and paying for childcare so I could further my education and get out of poverty. During that time, the term limits changed, and I was told I could no longer go to school anymore, that I needed to go find a job. Regardless of where it was, I just needed to have a job. I have 6 children, and if I was to go find a job at McDonald's or even as a human services technician, I'm still going to be in poverty. I'm still going to need the assistance. So I'm here to ask that you guys reinvest and rebuild that CalWORKs program so that we can be educated so we can get out of poverty. That's the only way we're going to be able to get out of poverty. And I want to thank you guys for listening to me today.
Hello, my name is Ekaterina Burton, and I'm with the Alameda County Community Food Bank. And we just also want to point to the fact that some policies that we have on the books in California actually cause more children to be in poverty and punish them for being born into poverty, specifically the maximum family grant rule. And so we don't think any child can control what family they're born into, nor do they deserve to be punished for whatever family that they're born into. And that, these children desperately need more help, and they're actually given less. So we hope that that is something that this hearing considers, is the ways that we can change policies that needlessly create poverty and hunger.
Thank you very much. I was privileged to stand with about 100 of our people today as we went to your offices to tell you about the good work that you're about to do, because I trust that you will make really good decisions and rebuild, reinvest into the systems that are going to help our people move up in the world. I have many stories. I was homeless over 20 years ago, and now I own a home, and now I'm fully employed. So when you have adequate support, it does make a difference, and it changes lives. But I also have 4 children, only one of which has successfully made it out of poverty. There are 2 who are still in school, but my daughter right now depends on food stamps in order to make ends meet. And what's really difficult is that she has no idea how much she's getting every month. So it's a constant source of frustration. And I'm very proud of her because they can cut her down to zero, they can take $30 out, they can take $60 out, and she still tries to make it no matter what, because she has a 10-year-old daughter that depends on her to provide food and clothing. But it's not right for her to be under this kind of stress. So we can do better. I know that we can do better just by restoring CalWorks. And thank you so much for paying attention.
Could you state your name for the record?
Janie Castillo, Oakland Housing Authority Resident Commissioner and St. Mary's Center Hope and Justice Coordinator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Luann Nguyen. I'm an attorney with the East Bay Community Law Center, and I've been doing public benefits work for the last 8 years. I grew up in public benefits in the Central Valley, and through having support from schools and the system, the government, my family was able to get out of poverty. So I am very much a believer in this system. I have to say that this is a personal shout out. It's not an organizational shout out, but I like to give a shout out to the parents that are here raising children that are not their own. And on an emotional basis for me, I'm doing the same thing with my 2 nieces who have special needs and who have IEPs and who have counselings and all of these things that they need to do. And the work that we do for them is a manifestation of love. And parents, people I think in general, want to support and provide the best for children. But it's not something that is just that can be done and run by the love that exists. It actually requires money. It actually requires money to put shelter over children's head. It requires money to keep the utilities on. It requires money to drive them around. It requires money to give them opportunities. So if we are to say that California is about children and it's about giving children opportunities, then we can't just say that. We need to put our money where our mouth is and let our drive and our motivation and let the budget drive what we know and we think is right. I would say that the same goes for CalWorks, the program that I work with and believe in. And what I will say is families are at a poverty level so right now that they're not able to get out of. My family, when we were on public benefits, were at a poverty level that we were able to get out of. There's a certain poverty level, I think, that people can still reach mobility. And there's this level that we're at right now where grants are $300, where grants are $400, where grants are $500, where people are homeless. Their kids don't have utilities to do homework. That's totally unacceptable. And we can do more, and we should do more. So I'm asking you to do more. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand the line is out the door now, so we're going to ask that you make your comments very brief.
Okay, I'm a single mom on CalWorks currently. I
You want
have
to
3
get to the
kids.
microphone? We can't really hear you.
I have 3 kids. I had to leave a domestic violence situation very long term, and my only choice was to go on CalWorks. My husband wouldn't let me go to college and get the degree I needed to have a viable job in the workplace. So I left the situation with these 3 little guys, and I basically had to rely on the goodwill of friends that I had to let me move in with them. And being that I only had such a small cash grant, I really couldn't contribute that much towards rent or even utilities or basics. And that lease ended up disappearing. And so I found myself homeless with 3 kids on November 1st, and I had to go knock on another friend's door and say, can I please live with you with my 3 kids? And this whole time, I'm trying to go back to school. I just applied to UC Berkeley. I think I have a really good shot of getting in there. I just landed a new job with automotive sales, and it's a hard job. It's like so, you get a lot of rejection, and it's hard to like keep your chin up when you're broke and you're like counting your pennies for gas money to get to work. And I mean, I've barely pulled it together to get there, but I gotta say, just a little bit more would have made it easier to buy diapers and to not freak out every day if my car is going to run out of fuel to get to my job. So I'm thankful it's there, but a little bit, more would be a lot easier. So thank you.
I think she stated. Did you state your name for the record? May I ask all of you, please be sure to state your name.
Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Salyers, thank you.
Hello, my name is Ronald Guitar Whitfield. Everyone calls me Guitar. I'm here to see what I could do to help those living under the poverty level. I grew up in Oakland, California, had a good life, and I took advantage of a lot of the opportunities that California, Oakland, the Bay Area offered me, a lot of the things and services. I see CalWorks and the poverty level that exists in Oakland today, and all I'm asking is that you do like I'm doing today. I'm a musician in there, and I asked them, what could I do today? They said, well, if you could just go there and tell your story. Well, I'm here to tell my story. So I'm doing what I can do, and I'm just asking you to do what you can do. It may not be to tell a story, but it's to do something, and that's all I can ask you to do is to do something for the people living in poverty. And CalWorks, which I hear are great things, the CalWorks for the people here in California. And I know the poverty because I've experienced it, and St. Mary's and Oakland and people like you help me now. And I just want to thank you for that also.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm David Williams. I'm a retired social worker from child welfare in San Francisco, where I worked for 27 years. 2 of the statuses of child abuse, which are neglect and abandonment, are directly related to poverty in most cases. That's an issue. I also work with the San Francisco Living Wage Coalition, where we are trying to improve the conditions for CalWorks workers in San Francisco. We're drafting legislation and work directly with the clients. And also, as a member of the California Alliance of Retired Americans, I see many seniors who have to care for their kids, or seniors who are also in need of IHSS care. These are all programs that have been depleted over the last number of years through the budget. All these programs can be and need to be restored with this new austerity that we're having this year. They needs to be restored. I would like to say I think that we need to put people before debt. And, there used to be a program in California. There was Upton Sinclair had a program that was called EPIC, End Poverty in California. I think it's time to bring it back.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bilal Ali. I'm with the Los Angeles Community Action Network in Los Angeles. I'm up here today to encourage this committee, and I know we have some support to encourage this committee and their colleagues to basically reinvest in people again. I think that is the best investment we can make, not stocks and bonds, but in people, and to restore the political, economic, and moral will in improving people's lives. I work in organizing poor people and homeless people in Skid Row. So we witness every day the epicenter of poverty. Poverty, the whole discussion of poverty has been taken off the table in the national dialogue, and it seems to be jettisoned for other issues. But down there, we see the ravages of poverty. Skid Row is no longer your traditional Skid Row. It is a community. We prefer to call it Central City East Community because when you say Skid Row, it denotes an image of squalor and dereliction, and sometimes we don't want to be confused with City Hall. But we witnesses the ravages of poverty. We see the more and more cuts in CalWorks, which is a program, although it's a lot to be desired there, it does keep people above water. And we're talking about people, we're not just talking about adults, but we're talking about children. Because of the economic decline and the spiral in the economy and the industrialization and cutting taxes for the rich and the gutting of the safety net, we now have these skid rows all over the country. Los Angeles is the #1 in the country of homelessness and second in the world of Sao Paulo. So we have an opportunity here. This legislature has an opportunity here to turn that all back around. Let's reinvest back in people. Let's restore the dream, the American dream. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bud Beal. I'm with the California Alliance of Retired Americans. And the subject has been brought up about education of our kids. But, if we get these people out of poverty, you're going to see the crime rate in this state and probably everywhere drop down. It'll never go out completely. And someone mentioned, too, about people building prisons and stuff. We need to build schools and get our kids educated and get people out of poverty, and to put all the money away in a rainy day fund. The rainy day is already here, and we need to do something for our people, especially the ones in poverty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Pete Wywoody with the California Partnership. I just really want to thank the Chairwoman Weber and the committee for putting a special emphasis on poverty. California is exceptional in the country, unfortunately, in poverty this time instead of all the other reasons that California gets singled out. I just want to turn, and if folks who were at the rally today could indicate themselves, that we had about 100 people here today, and many of them are still circulating around the building talking to your colleagues about the need to reinvest in the social safety net, and that means getting rid of the maximum family grant rule. That means getting rid of the lifetime ban for access to CalWorks and CalFresh, and then utilizing this political moment we have right now where the governor is saying we need to put money into debt and expanding the prison system. We need to instead put that in people, restoring CalWorks, restoring these other programs. That can and needs to happen immediately. So we're looking for your leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Shannon Smith Crowley, representing the American Association of University Women for California. And we support policies that invest in people where they're able to have the foundation and tools to be able to make themselves self-sufficient. And I don't have statistics about our membership, but in our name, you need to be a university or college graduate to be a member. And just in talking with our membership time and time and time again, almost everybody I talk with has needed some sort of public assistance to get on their feet, to get through college, and to be self-supporting citizens. And we ask for your help, especially in repealing the maximum family grant. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Myra Duran with California Latinas for Reproductive Justice, and we strongly support the repeal of the maximum family grant rule in CalWorks because we believe in the intrinsic and basic right to parent and live with dignity, and other reproductive justice advocates like CLRJ believe strongly in programs that would allow people to raise their family in a healthy environment and be able to do so. And also, public programs like CalWorks must not deny women of their right to a healthy family formation. And for these reasons, once again, California Latinas for Reproductive Justice strongly supports the repeal of the maximum family grant rule in CalWorks. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Morris. I'm here on behalf of the ACLU of California. We also support the repeal of the maximum family grant rule. As you know, California has a long history of supporting women's personal decisions regarding their reproductive choices. Mothers whose infants are subjected to the MFG rule should not be forced to decide between disclosing sensitive and confidential information about their contraceptive usage or their status as a survivor of rape, or having their children excluded from receiving a basic needs grant. All mothers, regardless of their income, deserve dignity and the right to make decisions that are best for their families. Repealing the MFG rule will prevent harm to children and restore reproductive autonomy and privacy to CalWORKs families. For these reasons and many others, we strongly support repealing the MFG rule.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Shane. I'm the Criminal Justice Policy Officer of the Women's Foundation of California, and I'm here to talk about two different issues that I think are both very important. One is the repealing of the maximum family grant. It's very important that we, as people have already said, we really want to be supporting children here in California rather than making life much harder for them. The other is the lifetime ban for people with drug felony convictions on getting both CalWORKs and CalFresh. And that, again, these are critical programs that can begin the process of really developing a level of economic security for our most vulnerable populations here in California. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joyce Calagos, and I belong to the California Alliance for Retired Americans, and I live in San Francisco. I am part of that living face of poverty in California. With my Social Security, that's what I basically live on. So with that, I have enough for medications and also to pay my utilities. But like someone else in the Senior Disability Action, she says, what do I eat? The air? So I'm calling on you to restore or quicken the process of CalFresh, because I've called our food pantry and I wanted to go to a place closer to where I live because I don't have a car anymore. She said everything where I am is full up, and I had to be on the waiting list, and the waiting list is 1 year. So I'm thinking seriously of applying for CalFresh, but I hear from this that there's a long process, so please invest in a shorter process time. And also, like with me, I'm a diabetic, so we need that fresh food, or else I'll be in the emergency room and I'll be costing you guys more money.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Junebug, and I'm with the San Francisco Parent Voices chapter. I also work with Poor Magazine. And I come today to say I'm an expert on poverty because I have been living in poverty for 37 years. Poverty bought my lottery ticket. I was born into poverty. And my whole life, I always focused on gotta get money, gotta get money, gotta get money. And no matter how much I was out there being diligent and trying to do the right thing, the cost of living is so high. I live in San Francisco. The cost of living is so high that I could never seem to make ends meet. And when I became a parent, I had to get on CalWORKs. And the MFG rule caused a lot of problems for my family, where me and 2 children were only living on $516 a month. That's below the poverty line. The MFG really needs to be repealed. Another thing that also needs to be invested into is childcare. There is a childcare crisis. There's a lot of children who are in need of childcare. We need to put our money into childcare. There's been so many cuts to childcare that it has caused families to be economically unstable. It has caused families to be funneled back into the welfare system. We need to make the investments into our children. That's how you restore, that's how you rebuild, and that's how you reinvest, is putting the money into our children. I could go on and on about all the things that we can do to, to eradicate poverty. And I will say 2 things that we can do is to ban the MFG rule and to invest more money into child care. That could help towards eradicating poverty. We also need welfare reform. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Valentina. I'm from Parrot Voices in San Francisco. My husband and I were participants of CalWorks. I could say that we thought we were going to end up being working our butts up to middle class. We gradually were transitioning off of CalWorks because we both, fortunately enough, found full-time jobs. So we were happy with that. We have 5 kids that we're taking care of. So CalWorks offered additional services of 3 months, you get child care, 6 months, you get food stamps, and after that, you get Medi-Cal. So we were working our butts off, literally, and we were very happy to have child care for that, for those 3 months. But when the 3 months ended, our work lives, our families started falling apart. My kids were being watched by my mother, and I wasn't able to, we were working so hard. I just felt like we were working poor. We were working so hard, but had nothing at the end. That's how we felt. And I just, I'm here today to say, restore CalWorks. I think you guys need the child care system needs to be fixed for parents to succeed because, at the end of the day, I lost my job because we had no child care, full time. And my husband slowly ended up losing his job. And we end up, we thought we were going to live, have that great life. We're going to be free of CalWorks. We're going to, be the middle class family. But at the end of the day, we end up coming back and we're basically back to square one because, I want to say childcare is a big thing because if parents don't have it, we are unable to work. And we were, two-parent home, and we were working our butts off to pretty much make nothing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Kathleen. I am the president of the advocacy team at Communities Actively Living Independent and Free, which is the independent living center in downtown Los Angeles. I am here today to talk about the proposed changes to in-home supportive services. Placing a 40-hour limit on individual providers will cause an unneeded hardship to those with disabilities who depend on providers to live in their own homes. It can be extremely difficult for disabled individuals to find suitable providers. It may be that the recipient has a more severe disability that requires providers who are knowledgeable about their specific physical condition. New providers would need to be educated thoroughly about the individual's medical equipment, as well as how to move and position the individual. It is so crucial that such individuals be able to keep their current providers who are already skilled on how to care for their recipients, regardless of the number of hours the providers work. We must also address the single-parent provider caring for their severely disabled child. With the 40-hour cap, this parent provider will lose almost half of their income, which could mean losing their home and possibly being forced to institutionalize their child. Ironically, the state of California doesn't realize that the cost of institutionalization is 4 to 5 times the cost to keep a recipient in their home with services from IHSS. In terms of the 75-hour required training for individuals, the disability community is opposed to it for many reasons. This mandatory training would prove of no use to IHSS providers and consumers. Each consumer has individual needs which can only be taught by the recipient or a family member. As the recipient is the employer, they hold the responsibility of training their providers on all aspects based on their needs and wants. On a personal note, this mandatory training could put me at risk of no longer having my current caregiver. My provider has a very busy schedule, in which we work together to coordinate our schedules. Some weeks are extremely busy for me as well. There is no way that my provider could fit in a 72-hour training in all this. The other issue is who would assist me if my provider did attend this training. I have only one provider, thus I would be forced to find a temporary fill-in who might not know me or know how to assist me. Has IHSS taken this into consideration? Or am I expected to put my life on hold while my provider goes through this training, which in the end will prove to be useless? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to speak about poverty in terms of Social Security benefits. Most people with disabilities live in poverty of some kind or another. And this is because we need rejuvenation. We do need to put money back into the Social Security system, like SSI. People with disabilities, we do not get. We only live on about $100 a month, and those of us on SSI because we have put back into the system. I'm a person with a disability. I'm also a mom, and I work part-time. And because of my benefit, if I work too many hours a month, I get dinged from Social Security, and they tell me, "So you make too much money." So as a person with a disability, you're trying to live the American dream, have a family, have a husband and a kid. I get letters every other month saying I make too much money and I need to give back to the system. Well, I need the system to give back to me because I work hard for the system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Andrews. I work at the East Bay Community Law Center, and I just wanted to talk for a minute about the educational impacts of the Maximum Family Grant Rule. The Maximum Family Grant Rule drives entire families into poverty, not just deeper into poverty, not just the child that's immediately affected. And poverty has significant and lasting impacts on a child's educational attainment and performance in school. Some of the effects of poverty on educational attainment are obvious. Poverty is distracting, to put it mildly. It's distracting to worry about being hungry, to worry about being homeless, and that's the impact that the Maximum Family Grant Rule has on a lot of these people. And when children are anxious about these things, they're not emotionally available to learn, and that affects their educational attainment. California needs to reinvest in its children and repeal the Maximum Family Grant Rule.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Whitney Singletary. Nervous. My name is Whitney Singletary. I'm a single mother of two boys, one of which is, due to the Maximum Family Grant Rule, is not getting aid, and I receive $317 a month because of a immunization sanction that's been documented improperly. I've been living off of the $317 for the past 3 months and taking that money to afford to take care of me and my children, just barely getting by. After losing my job, I was forced to get on CalWorks to receive the benefits and move back in with my mother and just barely getting by with it. And having the Maximum Family Grant Rule repealed would definitely benefit me for my situation in regards to this baby wasn't planned. He was a miracle baby. Birth control failed, and here I am now with 2 boys. And and thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Samuel Weeks. I'm a retired dentist. I'm here as a concerned citizen. And I want to thank you for including dental in the expansion. It's going to be a wonderful addition. But I want to talk about CalWorks, and then I want to come back to you. When CalWorks doesn't have enough money to provide the basics for children, they don't develop properly. You end up spending more money on the other end, prisons, mental health issues, expanded medical expenses. Put the money back in there. My kids are going to be fine. My grandkids are going to be fine, as are your children. Those of us that have had a little bit of something need to step back and look at others the way we look at our own, because they want what we want for our children. So I ask you to put the money back so they can get the food they need, they can go to school, they can get out of poverty, and they can sit up here just like you. A wise woman said today, there was an African proverb, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. A wise man, Marcus Garvey, said, it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. Focus on our children, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jean Toney. I work on a very part-time basis at St. Mary's Center with the homeless and the elderly. And I came to my particular situation through a chain of events that I had no control over. And I know this happens in a lot of people's lives. I will not bother to repeat my whole story because I feel I share your story and you share mine, and we are all connected. I do want to thank you, Dr. Weber, for what you said today. And coming from an art perspective and spiritual perspective, I understand and think that way also. Take a look at what you want your society to look like. Take a look at what you want your communities to look like, what you want your people to look like, how you want them to act, to behave, how you want them to contribute and be productive. And think about what it takes to do that. So I am asking you to support our systems that support our people in health, education, affordable housing, and what will help them, values. Values are very important, and education, particularly in the democratic system. So if you don't have the values and the education to support your system, you have no system. It's headed for destruction. And we are all part of it, so we would be a part of that self-destruct. So I am pleading to you to think on a very conscious level about values, about what you want your community to look like, what you want your country to look like, and what you want to be known about yourselves. I beg you and urge you to return the money to the system that you took it out of, and to think of other ways to generate money, because there are other ways to provide and to support affordable housing, education, a system that eliminates crime, but a system that supports education and the preservation of values. I thank you, and I urge you to think about what I've asked you to do.